All right, picture this. You're walking through a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind with well-kept lawns and basketball hoops in the driveway. But then, you hear this wild whoosh and a burst of laughter coming from behind one of the houses. You peek over the fence, and no joke, there's a full-on roller coaster snaking through the backyard. Not some dinky little thing either. We're talking about a legit 50-foot-long ride, complete with twists, turns, and even an 8-foot drop. And the best part? It wasn't built by some amusement park company. Nope. It was put together by a teenager, Evan Odya, who just decided, hey, why not build my own roller coaster? In his parents' backyard in New Berlin, Wisconsin. Now I know what you're thinking. Most of us, when we were 17, were probably more concerned with getting our driver's license or figuring out what to do on a Friday night. But Evan, he's out there measuring wood, hammering away, and basically turning his backyard into Six Flags on a shoestring budget. The whole thing cost him about $1,000. That's less than what some folks spend on a new phone these days. And get this, he did it all by hand. He designed the track, built the car, even rigged up a seatbelt because, safety first, even when you're living on the edge. But here's where it gets really interesting. Evan didn't just wake up one day and decide to become the backyard Walt Disney of Wisconsin. He started small, building benches and little projects around the house. Then, like a lot of us, he fell down the internet rabbit hole and stumbled across a video of someone building a homemade roller coaster. Most people would watch that and think, cool, but not for me. Evan, he saw a challenge. He saw a chance to do something wild, something that would make his friends' jaws drop. And honestly, isn't that what being a teenager is all about? Before I go any further, if you're enjoying this story and want to hear more about people doing incredible, unexpected things, seriously, some of these stories will blow your mind. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps out a ton, and you'll never miss out on the next wild adventure. All right, back to Evan. So, he spends about a year on this project. That's hundreds of hours. Think about that. While most of us are binge-watching Netflix or scrolling through TikTok, Evan's out there in the cold Wisconsin air, piecing together this roller coaster, one bolt at a time, and when it's finally done, the first ride is, well, let's just say it's a little nerve-wracking. Because sure, you trust your own work, but there's always that little voice in the back of your head going, did I tighten that bolt enough? But that's part of the thrill, right? It's not just the drop or the speed, it's the fact that this thing wasn't built by professionals. It's homemade, and that adds a whole new level of excitement. What I love about Evan's story is that it's not just about building a roller coaster. It's about that spark, that drive to create something out of nothing. It's about looking at your backyard and seeing more than just grass and trees. You see potential. You see an opportunity to do something nobody else has done. And honestly, that's the kind of mindset that changes the world. Because let's face it, every big invention, every leap forward in technology started with someone asking, why not? And Evan's not alone in this. There's this whole wave of young people, teenagers, even younger, who are out there reimagining the way we move, the way we travel, the way we solve problems. Take Alexis Lewis, for example. When she was just 13, she came up with this idea for a bamboo travois with wheels, a kind of simple cart, to help people in remote African villages transport the sick and elderly. She used local materials, kept the design super simple, and made it open source so anyone could build it. That's the kind of practical, real-world thinking that makes a difference. Or look at Hannah Herbst. At 15, she designed a device that can generate electricity from ocean waves. Think about that for a second. While most of us were worried about high school drama, she's out there figuring out how to bring power to communities that don't have reliable electricity. That's huge. It's not just about inventing something cool. It's about solving problems that actually matter. What ties all these stories together? Evan's roller coaster, Alexis's travois, Hannah's wave generator, is this sense of curiosity and determination. These are kids who look at the world and see possibilities instead of obstacles. They're not waiting for permission or a big grant or some fancy lab. They're getting their hands dirty, making mistakes, learning as they go, and most importantly, having fun with it. And let's be real for a second. How many of us have looked at something complicated, like a roller coaster, and thought, no way I could ever build that? But Evan proves that with enough time, patience, and a willingness to learn, you can pull off some pretty incredible things. Sure, you might not end up with a backyard amusement park, but maybe you'll build that treehouse you always wanted, or finally fix up that old motorcycle in the garage. The point is, you don't have to be an expert to start. You just have to start. Now, Evan's roller coaster probably isn't going to replace your morning commute anytime soon. I mean, can you imagine showing up to work with your hair standing on end because you just rode a homemade coaster through your backyard? But the spirit behind it, the idea that you can take transportation or any big idea and make it your own, that's what's really exciting. Because that's how progress happens. Not in boardrooms or government offices, but in garages, backyards, and basements. It's people like Evan, Alexis, and Hannah who push things forward, who show us that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we build, one crazy idea at a time. And I think there's something really refreshing about that, especially these days. We hear a lot about how technology is out of reach, or how you need a ton of money or a fancy degree to make a difference. But stories like Evan's remind us that innovation can start anywhere. All you need is a little curiosity, a lot of determination, and maybe a willingness to get a few splinters along the way. Plus, let's not forget the fun factor. I mean, come on. How many people can say they built a roller coaster in their backyard? That's the kind of thing you remember for the rest of your life. It's the story you tell at parties, the thing your friends will never let you live down. And who knows? Maybe it inspires someone else to take on their own wild project. Maybe it's not a roller coaster. Maybe it's a go-kart, or a backyard, zip line, or even just a killer tree swing. The point is, when you see someone else doing something awesome, it makes you think, hey, maybe I could do that too. And that's really what it's all about, sharing these stories, passing on that sense of possibility. Because at the end of the day, we all need a little inspiration. We all need to be reminded that the world is full of opportunities, if we're willing to look for them. So, next time you're out in your backyard or your garage or just staring at a blank wall thinking, man, I wish I could do something cool. Remember, Evan. Remember that it doesn't take $1 million or a team of engineers to build something amazing. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of courage, a lot of elbow grease, and a willingness to see what happens when you try. And who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person turning heads in your neighborhood, making people stop and say, wait, do they really build that? Because honestly, why not? The future isn't just for the experts or the big companies. It's for all of us, especially the ones crazy enough to try something new. So if you're still with me, thanks for hanging out and listening to this story. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. It's the best way to make sure you don't miss out on the next wild idea or backyard invention. And if you've got your own story or you're working on something cool, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment, send a message, let's keep this conversation going. Because at the end of the day, the future of transportation, or really the future of anything, starts with someone asking, what if? And who knows? Maybe the next big thing is already taking shape in someone's backyard, just waiting for the world to catch up. Thanks for listening. And remember, don't be afraid to dream big, start small, and most importantly, have fun with it. After all, you never know where your next crazy idea might take you.